What is up and welcome in. It is post Loons, October 9th, 2022. It is decision day, and Minnesota United got their decision day dub. A 2-0 win for the Loons over Vancouver Whitecaps at home in front of 20,000 plus, a record crowd at Allianz Field, taking in the win that has now propelled Minnesota United to the playoffs. Who are they going to play? When are they going to play? Well, I don't know when are they going to play, but we know who they're going to play, and we'll get to that in just a little bit, and we'll break down all the action. Big thanks to everybody tuning in. This is Post Loons, presented by SotaSoccer.com. We'll have written coverage from Decision Day, from the win, previewing the playoffs all week long at SotaSoccer.com. So if you're a Minnesota United fan and you want to get all the best Minnesota United coverage, make sure you go in there, SotaSoccer.com. Jacob Schneider, John Marthaler, myself, we got you covered as the Loons are now heading to the playoffs for the fourth straight year. As you guys are tuning in, feel free to leave your thoughts, leave your questions, leave your comments. A big part of this stream is, from you guys contributing, leaving those comments, sharing your thoughts, leaving a question for us to answer here on the stream. So get those playoff thoughts in, get those playoff questions, those comments in by dropping them here in the chat on YouTube. If you're watching on Twitter and you want to get involved in the conversation, you're going to have to go over to our YouTube channel. Just go to youtube.com and search Post Loons or Sota Soccer, and you will see the stream and you'll be able to contribute to the stream. Just as Enrique Carrillo did here, saying Arriba, Minnesota. Arriba, Minnesota, indeed, heading to the playoffs after this decision day win. So again, as you guys are trickling into the stream, if you want to be like Enrique and drop the comments in, drop your thoughts, I would love to get to those as we move along here. But I'm going to kick things off with my three things, my three big takeaways from the match. I'm Jeremy Rushing, by the way. I haven't introduced myself yet. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. First thing, effort and energy. It seems pretty simple, but I thought tonight, for the first time since the Portland match, this team played with a true intentionality, a true purpose. They pushed forward. There was real connectivity between the midfield and the attack. They were solid at the back all night long as well. But most of all, they were playing like a team that wanted to make the playoffs. I don't know if you could say the same for their last two matches, those last two matches specifically. The Kansas City match, the San Jose match, both, matches that were big for your playoff scenario. A win in either of those matches would have gotten you, basically clinched you a playoff spot. You come out flat in both of those, and then you put yourself in this position where you need to get a result on decision day to make the playoffs, and they did more than that with the 2-0 win, and now they're heading to their fourth straight playoff run. My second thing, peak Dane. Tonight was just a masterful performance in goal from Dane St. Clair, I thought. 7 saves. That really helped propel Minnesota to the result that they needed. In these matches, you need your best player to step up. You need your best player to step to the forefront, step forward, and make something happen. For my money, Dane St. Clair is this team's best player. He's been playing like he's been their best player, all season. For my money, he's been the best player this season, and he stepped up big tonight, helping propel the Loons to the playoffs. And then my final thing, 4 in a row. For as much criticism as this team got, much due criticism that this team got down the stretch, not getting the results that they needed, leaving it to decision day after basically being up near the top of the Western Conference at the beginning of September. Only 1 point in a 6-match stretch. You leave it up to decision day, and that brings a lot of criticism. However, you get it done on decision day with this 2-0 win, and now you're heading to the playoffs for the 4th consecutive year. Our own John Marthaler from Sota Soccer tweeted this out. There are only 2 players that have led their teams are active, 2 active coaches, 2 active streaks of 4 straight playoff appearances in Major League Soccer. Only 2 coaches that have done so actively, led their teams to 4 straight postseasons. Jim Curtin for the Philadelphia Union and Adrian Heath for Minnesota United. That's the company Heath is in. Now, there's obviously a lot of thoughts and feelings about Adrian Heath. A lot of people that don't think he's the right fit for this team, and he's the right guy to push this team forward. But you can't ignore 4 consecutive playoff appearances. And that's where Minnesota United is at. And I think Loons fans, me being, I'm not afraid to say, even though I am in the press box from time to time, and covering this team, I enjoy watching this team. I started as a fan of this team. I still, in some ways, feel like I am a fan of this team. And I feel lucky to be a fan of a team who has made 4 straight playoff appearances. There are so many other teams in Major League Soccer that would kill to be in a position like the Loons are in, where they have now made the playoffs 4 consecutive years. I think there needs to be some gratitude there for the way that this team has played and for the run that they're currently on. So those are my 3 things. If you have any thoughts, specific feelings, reactions to the decision day win, and now the upcoming 4th straight playoff appearance for Minnesota United, go ahead and drop those in the chat. And as you do that, I'm going to go ahead and start by shouting out our friends over at Pentz Homes. PENTZ homes.com is where you can find them if you are buying a home, selling a home, or doing both. A lot of times it's both, right? A lot of times you're trying to sell one home and buy another at the same time. That can be a super stressful process. My wife and I just went through that a year and a half ago, and it's not something I would wish upon my worst enemy. It was very, very stressful. But when you have the right realtor, it does help take a lot of that stress off. It's impossible to take all of it off, but the right realtor will help, put you at as much ease as humanly possible. And that's what Nate and his team do. They know the market. They have the team and the technology that'll help you get top dollar for your home and help you get into a new home that's within your budget. That's going to be great for you and or your family. So make sure that you're checking them out at PentzHomes.com and reading their dozens and dozens and dozens of 5-star reviews. I mean, there's more than 100 5-star reviews at PentzHomes.com. Reason being, they're very good at their job, and they're very good at helping so many people in and around the Twin Cities accomplish those goals of selling their house and buying a new home in a way that's going to be most profitable, but also in a way that's going to help take as much of that stress out of the process as humanly possible. So if you want a team that's going to help you do that, and you want a team that supports Minnesota soccer the way you do, just hit up Nate and his team at Pentz Homes. They support Minneapolis City, Minnesota Aurora. Nate is a huge Minnesota United fan as well. So not only are they good at their jobs, they're also very ingrained in the Minnesota soccer community. So if you want to look to a realtor who kind of shares those same values that you do, I would look no further than Pentz Homes. PENTZhomes.com. Make sure you check him out. Or if you want to email Nate directly, you can do that. You can see his name. Contact Nate there, Nate. That's his name, and that's the email address, Nate@PentzHomes.com. And huge thanks again to Nate and the team at Pentz Homes for sponsoring the Sota Soccer Post-Loons post-game show. I see more peeps checking out the stream now. I'm sure a lot of you were among the 20,000 strong at Allianz Field. Just now tuning in, probably just now getting back to your car, whatever it is. So make sure that as you are getting in and you want to leave your thoughts or reactions, make sure you do that in the comments, and we'll respond to that as we get going here. But we're going to get into the playoff bracket now for the Western Conference as I waste time and pull up FootMob here, because this is how things shook out. Now, there was at one point in the first half of this game where the results were actually advantageous for Minnesota United in terms of they were holding in the live table the 4th spot in the West. They actually were, via the live standings, hosting a playoff match in the first half of this game. Now, results went other ways in some of those matches as the day went on. And so here is the playoffs. The 2 teams that get buys are LAFC and Austin FC. That was already determined before the games tonight even happened. But moving forward, Minnesota United will travel to FC Dallas. I don't know if that match has been given a day or a time yet. I am here doing the post-game show. I have not been made aware of any schedules that have already been made as far as the playoffs are concerned, but Minnesota will be going to Dallas for the first round of the playoffs. And then the winner of that match will play Austin FC in the next round. That is how things are. Excuse me. I'm sorry. LAFC gets the bye. Austin plays Salt Lake in the first round. RSL throttled Portland to steal their 7 spots. So it's Austin, RSL, Minnesota at Dallas, and Nashville at the Galaxy. So what that means for Minnesota is they will go to Dallas for the first round. and then they will also in the next round play the winner of, I believe it's Nashville and LA Galaxy. I'm not sure who they're playing into in the next round, or it might be Austin. It might be Austin and Salt Lake. I think it is the winner of Austin and Salt Lake. So either way, you're most likely going to Austin in the second round if RSL doesn't make a Cinderella run like they did last year. But either way, you're going to Dallas for round one. And that's a place that you've won this year if you're Minnesota United. You've gone into Dallas and won already this season. So that's got to give Minnesota some confidence that, if they can keep that form, because that's been the thing with Minnesota is this team's been on riding the roller coaster all season where they have gone, they went on a decent run to start things off, and then they really faltered in May and June. And then in July and August, they were up near the top of the West. And then obviously things fell apart in September, but they did just enough tonight to get into the playoffs. If they can keep the same form they had tonight and sort of maybe continue this upward trajectory at the right time, you feel pretty good about Minnesota's chances at Dallas, especially considering they've already won at Dallas this season. But we'll have to wait and see what happens. And again, as far as when that match is, I do not know. But I do know it will be in Frisco, Texas, and that's where Minnesota United is kicking off their MLS playoffs for 2022. All right, match moments in this one. Let's get to how this match broke down. It all started in the 6th minute with the first good chance going to Vancouver. It was a pair of shots requiring saves from Dane St. Clair, but as he did all night long, the Canadian did well to parry both and keep things goalless. Also early on, Coleman went to the ground, and the medical staff came out to check on him. He did end up carrying on, but that was a concerning moment nonetheless for the Loons because he is really the only depth option for center backs for this team. And then he goes down, and you're wondering what the heck's going to happen. Heath was evidently talking to Kamar Lawrence on the side about potentially moving to center back if Coleman couldn't continue. So, but Coleman was able to continue, and I thought he played really, really well tonight. 11th minute, Loons get a half volley from Lod just outside the box, goes wide of goal. 17th, this is where you get the opener. Reynoso wins the ball in the attacking third, and Fragapane picks it up, fires a right footer that beats Hassel to give Minnesota a crucial lead. There needs to be prop bets, in Major League Soccer, because Franco Fragapane right-footed goal would have been a huge, huge value bet. Would have been a huge, huge moneymaker because, he usually scores with the left. Doesn't score too many with the right, but he did there. Really good shot with the right foot, too, from Fragapane, giving the Loons the lead. 27th, DJ Taylor fires from distance, strikes it extremely well. This was his second opportunity of the first half. Just after the goal, he had another chance on a centering pass from, I believe, Fragapane that went all the way through the box. He was trailing and just skied it. But on the second opportunity, he really got his foot through it well, but it begs just wide of goal. And so you go into half up 1-0. Feeling pretty good, but also very cautiously optimistic because you know how second halves have gone at times for Minnesota United this season. 53rd minute, Mender Garcia down on the pitch. Medical staff comes out to check on the forward. He does stay on, and we'll get to that in just a second. 57th, Vite gets a flick on from a goal kick and is one-on-one with St. Clair, but it's another great save by the Loons keeper. And then 59th, this is where Garcia comes off. So in the 53rd, Garcia goes down. He took a couple knocks tonight. He comes off in the 59th. So something to keep an eye on. We do know that Bongi has kind of been back in training, has kind of been doing a few things. So maybe he'll be back and ready for the playoffs. I know he was out for the rest of the regular season. And as far as the playoffs went and Bongi's status, that was still a little up in the air. But now you also have Mender Garcia, who had to come off after going down on the pitch earlier in the match. So just something to keep an eye on at that right wing spot for Minnesota as we head into the playoffs. But he does come off in favor of Jonathan Gonzalez, and the Loons do switch to a 4-3-3, which switching to a 4-3-3 at the hour mark when you're up 1-0, you don't know how that's going to go there, and that could raise some questions. But I thought all in all, they did really, really well in that formation. 63rd, though, nearly an equalizer as Brian White puts one off the post from point-blank range, but the offside flag goes up to boot. 70th minute, Lod with his third decent chance of the match as he plays a nice give and go and gets it on the left foot about 10 yards from goal, and he puts it wide. Lod had 3 really good opportunities tonight, but wasn't able to find the back of the net. But you felt like he was going to get one. 72nd, Amaria is able to get space and set up a right footer at the edge of the box. Strikes it really, really well, requiring Hassel to reach out, and the Vancouver keeper does just enough. He gets just enough on it to push it over the end line for a corner. 74th, Rosales comes on for Lud. And then in the 77th, it's Jonathan Gonzalez opening up his Loons account off deflected cross from Rosales, and all but clinches Minnesota a playoff spot. 82nd, though, Vancouver nearly gets one back. Ryan Gauld strikes the near perfect free kick, but St. Clair makes the highlight reel save. That's got to be up for save of the week, I think, in MLS for my money. That's just a brilliant save from Dane. That one, for context, if you didn't see this thing is going to the bottom of the crossbar, near the corner of the goal. You almost can't strike this any better. If Dane can't get to it, it's going bar down and in the back of the net. From how it looked, from how the trajectory looked. And Dane is just able to make that stop. He reads it really well, outstretches, really good athleticism to cover that ground along the goal line, and he makes a save. And then 90+2, Reynoso gets space at the top of the box and lets it rip, but Hassel makes the stop. But it doesn't matter. It's the end. 2-0. Minnesota United victorious, heading to the playoffs once again. I see more and more people tuning into the stream. Thank you so much for tuning in after the decision day win. If you do want to leave your thoughts, your questions, your comments, go ahead and drop those in the chat as I shout out our friends over at 9th Street Soccer and Coffee. You don't have to play soccer to go to 9th Street Soccer and Coffee. Yes, they do have pickup going on. Yes, they do have pickup 4 or 5 nights a week. They have regular pickup, 40+ pickup, women's only pickup. So if you want to play indoor pickup soccer in a controlled environment, you can do that. Rain or shine, doesn't matter the weather. Could be 100 degrees, could be 100 below, doesn't matter. They're having pickup at 9th Street. Well, maybe not 100 below. I don't know if the lights can handle that. But anyways, there's pickup always going on at 9th Street, and it's indoors, so you can play all winter long. But if you don't play soccer, that's fine too, because they have an amazing coffee shop / beer area over there as well. That's the best way I can describe it. And they got soccer on the TVs all the time, especially now with European soccer back and worldwide soccer back. If there's a soccer match on, it is on at 9th Street. So if you just want to be in a soccer environment, support a local business that's supporting the local soccer scene, and have a hell of a good time while you're doing it, go check out 9th Street Soccer and Coffee. It's a great place to get some work done during the day too. About once a week, I'll go there. I work from home. I'm freelancing now. So I'll go there and just work at 9th Street, have some coffee, have a couple beverages, and be good to go. Non-alcoholic beverages while I'm working. But after I'm done working, that's when I have the alcoholic beverages. But either way, that's the beat about 9th Street. Doesn't matter what you want to drink. They have it there. And it's just a great environment for the Twin Cities soccer community to kind of go and convene and watch soccer and hang out. So if you're one of those people who wants to hang out at 9th Street Soccer and Coffee, it's easy to get to. 801 South 9th Street. It's in the Marcy Holmes neighborhood of Minneapolis. So kind of there between Northeast and Dinkytown. So really easily accessible no matter where you're at in the Twin Cities. And they do an excellent job at getting things together at 9th Street. So 9thstreetmpls.com. You can see the website there. Or again, 801 South 9th Street in Minneapolis is where you can find them. Or if you just want to follow them on social media and see what they're all about, they are at 9th Street MPLS. Big thanks to 9th Street Soccer and Coffee for supporting the Post-Loons post-game show. More people jumping in. I see people jumping into the stream, but not jumping into the chat. I want to get your thoughts. I want to get your opinions. I want you to let me know how you're feeling about the decision day win for Minnesota United. So get those comments in the chat. As I mentioned, if you are tuning in and you're not sure what that playoff matchup is going to be for Minnesota United, they are going to FC Dallas in the first round. Minnesota clinched the 6th spot. FC Dallas is 3rd. So it will be Minnesota and Dallas in the first round in Dallas. I'm trying to check Twitter here to see if there's been a time or a day. I don't think that has quite been determined yet. If I'm wrong and you saw something, guys, let me know. Obviously, I'm going to do a live show here. So can't quite get the access to that information right now. But I have to imagine it'll be sometime next weekend. As long as it's not Saturday. I have a church event to go to on Saturday. So I really hope it's not Saturday. But either way, I think it's a really good matchup for Minnesota if they can continue playing at the level they were at tonight. Obviously, we'll see what Mender Garcia's status is. Bongi Hlongwane might be healthy for all we know. It's good to have Robin Lod back, and he didn't seem to pick up any knocks, so it sounds like he'll be ready to go. Mano Reynoso is good. So it seems like they'll have at least mostly a fully healthy squad for heading down to Dallas. And I do think that's a really good matchup for them. Personally, Nashville, I would have been fine with. Austin, I would have been fine with as well, but you get Dallas. And that's a good matchup, I think. Eric Grady says, did Heath really complain about injuries after the game, or is someone just trolling me? Not quite sure, but Minnesota was hammered with injuries this season, Eric. If that's something he's mentioning, I do almost agree with that, because Hassani Dotson, Roman Metnair, Bakai Dabasi, the list goes on and on. Bongi Hlongwani at the end of the season. Lud missed a good amount of games. Reynoso missed a good amount of games. Fragapane missed a good amount of games. This team was not 100% for a vast majority of this season. Now, you pair that with, okay, but we were told this team had all this depth and they'd be able to withstand these things. I agree with that. I think this team showed that maybe they're not as deep as we thought they were, but you can't ignore the fact that this team was really hammered with injuries. Season-ending injuries to three crucial pieces in Metnair, Dotson, and Dabasi, especially when you talk about how this team wants to operate defensively. So, yes, maybe it's not the best look after you clinch the playoffs to mention the injuries that you were hampered with all season, but I don't necessarily think that's an untrue statement if Heath made that either. So I'm going to leave it at that. Any other questions or comments, feel free to drop those in the chat. I'm going to pull up FootMob and get to some of the stats tonight. The one that did stand out to me that I've already mentioned on the broadcast, Dane St. Clair, 7 saves on the night. If you miss my 3 things, I said, you need your best player to step up in matches like these. And for my money, Dane St. Clair has been this team's best player this season. And he stepped up in a huge way tonight. 7 saves for St. Clair. The Loons had 16 shots on the night, 5 on target. Vancouver, 12 shots, 7 on target. So Vancouver actually won the shots on target battle 7-5, but Dane St. Clair was able to stop every single one of those. 10 of those 12 shots for Vancouver were from inside the box as well. So, they were getting opportunities. The expected goals, even though it was 2-0, only 0.95 for Minnesota United. So that means Minnesota's been doing something that traditionally they haven't done, outperform their XG, and actually got more goals than they were expected to. If they can continue that trend into the playoffs, that'll be obviously a huge boost for them as well if they can put away those shots. You'd look at passes, 488 passes, completing 387 of those. So that's a 79% passing percentage. Obviously, you might want to see that improve a little bit. For Minnesota, 82% passing percentage. Accurate long balls, 53% for the Loons on the night. Only 1 yellow card to Will Trapp. He got it early. I don't think if Trapp were to get a second yellow card that he would have been suspended for the playoffs. I don't think the yellow card accumulation transfers from regular season to the playoffs. So I don't think that would have been an issue there. But yeah, I mean, look, this team stepped up tonight, and specifically Franco Fragapane stepped up tonight individually when you're talking about field players. We talked about Dane St. Clair already ad nauseum. I thought Franco Fragapane had his best game of the season tonight. And he was your FootMob player of the match, 8.4 rating. I voted for Dane St. Clair personally for Minnesota United's man of the match. I do think he won that voting. But the FootMob man of the match with an 8.4 rating was Franco Fragapane. So from a field player standpoint, I thought Fragapane was the standout, but obviously in goal, Dane St. Clair was just huge tonight. We're going to stick around for a few more minutes, guys, or we're going to stick around for however many questions or comments that you guys have to drop in the chat. It's a decision day win. It's a big win, 20,000 plus at Allianz Field, a record crowd, standing room only, hanging from the rafters at Allianz, if you will. It is really, it's kind of a tearing feeling coming out of this one, because obviously it was such a spectacle and it was such a cool feeling having all those people there to propel Minnesota United to the playoffs. But on the other hand, you're like, why did it have to be this way? Why did you have to get to decision day to determine your playoff fate? You were in third with second not too far ahead of you just a month ago, a little over a month ago, 5 weeks ago. You were talking about maybe second place being attainable for this team. but you go into decision day needing a result just to make the playoffs. You get it done. It was a great crowd, and you get the 6th spot. You finished 6th. You came in 7th. You finished 6th. You didn't get the help you needed from, I believe, Houston, who was playing LA. Houston had the lead early on in that match. And then LAFC was not able to hang on to that draw against Nashville. If those matches would have ended in a draw or a loss for LA and Nashville, then Minnesota would have been able to get that 4th spot. But they do get 6th, but they get, in my opinion, a pretty good matchup against 3rd place FC Dallas. Date and time TBD, at least as far as I know. All right, guys, that's if there's no more questions or comments in the chat, that's how we'll wrap this one up. I think Minnesota's got a really good shot to go into Nashville and get the necessary win. And I think when you look at these potential matchups in the Western Conference, if they win against Nashville and Austin beats RSL, then they'll be going to Austin in the 2nd round. I like their chances there. Obviously, RSL beat Minnesota 3-0 earlier in September. So that matchup may be a little iffy, but you would be playing that one at home if that matchup ever does come to fruition later on in the playoffs. So we'll see. I mean, RSL was a Cinderella last year. I know they're in the playoffs this year, but why not Minnesota this year? They showed tonight what they're capable of. There are a lot of teams near the top of West that aren't in very good form. LAFC, even though they clinched the Supporter Shield, haven't exactly been world beaters down the stretch. Austin's been really struggling down the stretch. Dallas is beatable. Nashville's beatable. So I think you look at individual matchups for this Minnesota United team when you take away kind of this last month and those performances that we saw. I know it's hard to take those away. It's hard to forget about those because they were so recent and so prevalent and such a big spot for this team. I do understand that. But when we look at Minnesota United as playing at their best, like they were, I think they were at their best tonight. With this roster, with this starting 11, that's, I think, the best that you're going to get out of Minnesota United tonight. And I do think that is good enough to really compete with even those top teams in the Western Conference, even on the road. So we'll see how the first round goes. Minnesota's playing with house money a little bit. I don't know. I don't think, nationally, too many teams are really going to be picking Minnesota in this first round matchup against Dallas. So you're kind of playing. You can play the underdog card if you're Adrian Heath. He loves to play that card, so you can play the everybody's doubting us card, and that seems to be a good bulletin board material for the teams. Maybe that'll help propel them as well. But it is Dallas in the first round, and it will be sometime next weekend. And playoff soccer is back in Minnesota 4 years in a row, and I think that is one thing to be grateful of if you're a Loons fan. For as just really hectic as this final and frustrating as this final month of the regular season was, as frustrating as this team can be at times with their play or lack thereof, you're in the playoffs for the 4th straight year. You do just enough once again to get yourself in the playoffs on decision day. And now you have a chance to really do something. And I think a lot of these matchups do look favorable for Minnesota United when you're just looking at the matchup itself. So that is where we will end up post Loons tonight. We will have another episode of Post Loons following the FC Dallas playoff match, whenever that is. We'll be tweeting the schedule. We'll be tweeting out the day and time from the Sota Soccer account when we find that out. So make sure you're following us at Sota, SOC, on Twitter. Make sure you're checking out the website, sotasoccer.com. Jacob Schneider and John Marthaler will be having content all week long, breaking down the decision day win, previewing the playoffs against Dallas, and of course we'll have match day content for that playoff match as well, whenever that is. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. Thank you for the support. Thank you for the viewership. Thank you for the questions. Thank you for the comments. Thank you for everything that you've done to help us out on Post Loons all season long. It has been great, and it will be back for yet another edition of Playoff Post Loons. Whenever Minnesota and Dallas happens, we'll be there afterward to break it down. Until then, enjoy the win, celebrate another playoff appearance, and we will be back next weekend. See you guys.